Hello, my name is Sam. I am the grant coordinator with Anton Art Center, and we at the Anton Art Center are facilitators of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs MiniGrants for Macomb and Oakland County. If you reside or work outside of Macomb or Oakland County, you are still welcome to watch this video to pick up any tips, tricks, or know-hows to navigate the MCACA SmartSimple system, but you will be applying through a different region, and so you'll have a different point of contact person. A couple of shorthands to clear up. The Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs is colloquially known as MCACA. It's a lot shorter to say. And then the grant we'll be discussing in this video is the MiniGrants POD, which stands for Professional or Organization Development. So if you hear me say POD, it's the shorthand for professional and organization development, because that's a whole mouthful of words. What this grant specifically is for individuals or organizations to seek out classes, workshops, or other learning opportunities. It's not for projects or events or equipment, but specifically for expanding knowledge. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your profile first, and then we'll get into the pod here. Whether you're applying as an organization or personal, the pod application will look the same for the most part. And so the big thing is to decide, are you applying for through your business? For example, if I were to do this to take courses on granting or some sort of financial thing to help me do my job better at the art center, I would apply for organizational profile because it is work for the nonprofit I work with. If I were to take a ceramics course as a individual artist, I myself, for my artistic practice, I would fill out personal profile. And so you have to decide whether you're applying as an individual or within your organization. Under organization profiles, you're going to fill out all of this here. Ours is already completed, but you can see that the name, the address, city, state. You'll want to know your EIN number if you are applying on behalf of your organization, but you are not the executive director, CEO, chair, or other authorizing official. Then you need to get the authorizing official's approval. Here at the Art Center, that's Phil Gilchrist, so you can see organization owner. He's not technically the owner, but he's our executive director, and so he will approve or deny the application and allow it to go forward. There's some drop downs. These will show up as drop down menus for you. Let's see, I can hit edit to show you a little clearer. So you can see the fill in boxes. Anywhere with an asterisk, of course, is a required data field. Anything without is optional. Our DUNS number is there. And then in the drop-down menus, you can see various profit, nonprofit, federal, state, etc. Application status. Are you a nonprofit, or are you a K through 12, or are you a college or university? Because different entities have different granting options. The options drop down there. You will need to know your congressional district number, your state Senate district number, as well as your state House of Representatives district number. And there's the handy-dandy links in the gray area for each one so that you can select through the drop-down menu the appropriate number. And then the authorizing official, this is where it's important to make sure the head of your organization is aware and approving of this. Because they will be the ones that sign the assurances, they'll be signing the contracts, and it all gets sent through DocuSign. So you want to give them a heads up that DocuSigns are coming through, because they're only good for 5 days, and then you'll have to resend it. For our ADA, and so that's for any disability training or accessibility issues with our building. And so you answer your ADA questions here. The organizational history or board, so these will dictate whether or not you qualify, so answer them honestly. And so if you are operating continuously for 3 or more consecutive years, and if you have an unrestricted revenue of $10,000 or more for 3 consecutive years. And again, these are specifically for organizations, right? Not individuals. In this box, you complete your organization's history. You have a considerable amount of space to fill in that information, but you just need to explain the history of your specific place with as many or as few characters as is needed there. And then this box is for your board's representation. And so you're going to drop down, as you can see, we've included the demographics of our board, as well as some of the key members, their information here. I do suggest that any of these fill-in boxes you do in a separate word processor program, so that way you can just copy paste in and you don't lose work if the internet goes glitchy on you. And then in this, you can see another required field is you have to list all of your board members. And so you want to do the best to fill in as much of this as you can. If you're unaware of their preferred pronoun or preferred prefix, you can leave this spot blank, but you should have their first and last name, their title, their occupation, and their city of residence. Next, you're going to describe your community, describe your audience, and in the space provided, how are you using your demographic information to inform your organization's decision making? And then finally, there's a section of MCACA grant history. Now, if you're applying as an individual, you'll go under personal profile and you'll fill in this information. This being my account is filled out for myself as the grant coordinator. If you are filling out as an individual artist, you can put some sort of identifier here as whatever title you give yourself. Email address. Are you interested in applying as an individual or for a professional development grant? And so if you are applying as an individual, then you should select yes here. And then if you're interested in serving as a peer review panelist, and so we do have all of our applications reviewed by a panel of outside judges. We at the Art Center have no say over any of the applications here. Now, what you don't see here if you're applying as an individual is you will have to input your tax ID number to identify yourself. And so whatever whatever number you use for your taxes and whatnot, you'll have to input here. Once you have set up your profile, whether organization or personal profile, on the My Opportunities, the system populates which grants you are eligible for. We at the Art Center are eligible for some extra ones that you won't see. If you're applying as an individual, the one that should come up, and I believe the one and only, is the MiniGrants pod right here. If you're applying as an organization, you may also see your MiniGrants Arts Project, and if you're interested in what an arts project is, there is another walkthrough video on that specifically. And so let's dive into what the MiniGrants pod grant looks like. So what you're going to see is potentially some past deadlines, and then you're going to see the current deadline. Your date and time that you're seeing here may appear differently than when I'm doing this video, but for our fiscal year 2022, round 1, which is when I'm recording this video, the deadline and times listed here, as well as you can see the fiscal year, that FY 21 or 22, that's the fiscal year, which doesn't sync up with calendar year. So just be mindful of these deadlines, set a reminder in your phone, post-it note on your computer, whatever you need to do. And then you're going to hit the apply. From here, you're going to fill in the questionnaire. And so are you applying as an individual artist, arts administrator, arts educator, or film professional? And so the answer should be yes. You're either applying on behalf of your company or on behalf of yourself. And then you're going to put your organization name and project director. Otherwise, this will just show up for your personal identity if you're applying through a personal option. And then you'll answer the questionnaire. I always recommend that you save draft and then you hit submit. Once you hit submit, if you've answered all of the questions correctly, let's see. Then you'll be able to begin the application. Once you get to this stage, it is saved. And so if you back out, you're not losing that first questionnaire. You'll go to the applications and grants here instead of home. You come here, and this is where it's going to save all of your grants that you're working on. So you can see there's been a few that I've done. So you're going to look for the mini grant pod, right? Mini grant pod. The newest one that you do always shows up at the top. If you do that questionnaire more than once, then you are populating yourself multiple grants. We can have those deleted, so don't stress out about it. But just be aware of which one that you're filling out so that you're always selecting the correct one. And so that fiscal year at the top, you can see here, 22. Mini grant. The last 4 digits are unique to your specific grant. That is just yours. The other 2 you'll see show up on a couple different granting options. The status, you can see whether it's assurances or draft. Once it's submitted, this is where you'll also view how far along in the process that it is. It does take a little bit of time to move through its paces. And so you can go ahead and open your pod and continue it. Double check your grant number, your status, that you are applying for your pod, that your answers appear correct. This hyperlink takes you to the MEDC box along with another workshop video prepared by Chad. So if mine doesn't answer all your questions, give this one a watch. Then we have the guidelines here. Now these are the guidelines for the mini grant. The where do I begin, which is that organization or profile setup, and then pod. And so these guidelines are specifically what we're going to look at now. And so you can see it's for the professional, organizational development. Make sure that you're looking at the right fiscal years so it's not an outdated form here. Gives you the eligibility, gives you the deadlines. Note the asterisks here. We at Anton offer 2 rounds of granting. If you are applying outside of Macomb or Oakland, your particular region may not. So you need to double check with who facilitates the MCACA grants in your county. Got the table of contents and a bunch of great information in here. So back to our application. This is the assurances page. And like I said, it's going to come through DocuSign to your authorizing official. So if you'll scroll down, let's see. You got the legal information here, the agreeances. So if you're applying as your organization, you need to make sure under contacts that yourself is listed as well as your executive director, right? And so you can just type in their name. So I'm going to type in Phil Gilchrist, double check that it's the correct individual. They're the executive director at the Anton Art Center. Select their role. I'm going to add myself correctly here. And so you can see I come up twice as an individual applicant and as well as the grant coordinator. For this application, I'm the grant coordinator, so I'd select that. If I was applying as myself, as an individual, this bottom piece here as the authorizing official would be correct because I would be the one applying on behalf of myself. Being that if you're doing the organizational end, if you're writing a grant for an organization, then you are the grantee and the chair, CEO, or otherwise is the authorizing official. And so the DocuSign will go to whomever is listed as the authorized official, so make sure that the correct person is listed. And if you don't know who that is, you might want to just, if you're applying for an organization, just ask your direct supervisor and they'll let you know. And so then you will hit continue to application. And this automatically populates the assurances page, sends it off to the email listed within the system to the correct authorizing official, and then they will sign it from within their email, and then it gets sent and populated back into the program. So now we can begin the actual application portion. The part that's going to differ is the contact details. So whether you're applying for an organization or an individual, whatever that you put in is what's going to show up here. The next spot is going to be your project details. And so if you have a department, you would put that here. As you can see, there's no asterisk, so this is not a required field. If you hover over the question mark, you don't need to click on it, but just let your mouse pause over it. You can see that a little hint as to what needs to be in there. And so this would be the department, program, or subsidiary of the applicant organization, if applicable. Not required. Now the project activity, this is a required field. And so this is just some sort of working title. It's just a short little descriptor, single sentence, couple of words, nothing major. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna make up some random stuff that fits. So learn QuickBooks, right? Take a workshop on how to use QuickBooks. And so the requesting amount, you can ask up to $1,500. Make sure you're aware of any matching amounts. I believe it's, yeah, right here. Grant awards must be matched on a 1-to-4 or 25% basis with either cash or in kind. And there's a fancy way to do the math, and I am awful at that. So just be aware that 25% of what you are asking for must be matched in some other way. And in-kind counts your wages or labors or travel expense or what have you. It can look like a lot of different things, and we'll get more into that when we cover the budget. And so you can ask for up to $1,500. Oftentimes, various classes that you may take will exceed that cost, and it kind of covers your match because you have to come up with the rest of the funding right there. You want your start and end date, again, on that guidelines page. You can see the dates as to where, when it must take place. And so your proposed project will occur during the fiscal year, and then it gives you the dates because fiscal years, again, don't always line up with calendar years. So make sure that whatever class, workshop, or training that you're trying to attend falls between those dates. And then you can click on the little handy calendar there and then select your dates. And then the project description. I consider this kind of like an elevator pitch. How can you best describe in a concise and clear way what it is that you're trying to do and why? And so you'll just kind of repeat what the title is. To learn QuickBooks. Why? To assist, and so on and so forth. If you're an individual, you could propose that you would like to take a class at Pendleton in North Carolina to better understand jewelry making. You could pick that you want to take a workshop in marketing because you know how to do the maker end, but you don't know how to market yourself to a target audience, and so you need to learn that. You could also use this portion for equity training. If you're an arts nonprofit, you need to learn how to become more accessible to the larger community. There's a lot of different options that would fit in here. And then ultimately it's the review panel that decides who gets awarded, partially rewarded, or not awarded. So just do well to do a little quick elevator pitch, kind of hook them in, get them interested and excited about your project. Next down is your primary disciplines. Since this is an arts and cultural affairs grant, you can see that everything here is within the realms of the humanities, right? And so we have music, we have dance, we have the visual arts, and so however it would fit. And so you'll just select the correct one. Again, I'm tapping random things so we can move along, but you want to be honest and accurate to the best of your ability. And then the primary counties. If it's you as an individual and it's benefiting you as an individual, select the county in which you live. If you are applying for your organization, select the counties in which your organization participates within, whether it's just where they exist or if you pull from multiple different counties, and then select them here. If it's out of Michigan, be honest and select that. If it's the entire state, select that. And then at the bottom, we have submit, save, draft, or resend assurances. And so assuming that you're within the 5 days of the DocuSign, you can just ignore this one until after. Submit is what you do when you're done. And if you accidentally bump it, you will be stopped that you have to finish your application. So you won't accidentally submit anything. There's a fail-safe built in. But I do highly recommend that you click Save Draft. Before ever navigating away from the page, hit Save Draft. It'll save you a lot of stress. So we have the project information that we just completed, and the next up is the budget. And so on the budget page, they actually give you a working page to use, and you'll just input the information that it asks using the plus sign buttons below each subsection. And so the employee expenses, and so this includes the total project cost for administrative, artistic, and technical production employees and anyone receiving a W-2. And so if you're applying on behalf of your organization, anyone that is participating in this, then you include here. If you are an individual, you may ignore this one because you may not W-2 yourself, depending on how you set up your personal individual business. Now, non-employee costs are anyone that would be receiving a 1099. And so if you as an individual are running your business, this may be where you fit. And so you'll add any costs here. Now, these include the costs and payments to the organization, to any workshopping individuals that you have coming in, teachers, and so on. Additional project expenses. These include space rentals, travel, marketing, publicity, and promotion. This is for yourself or for an organization. And so if you are renting a space, say that, you're not going to hold this workshop as an organization within your office, that you want to go to a larger community center to kind of spread out and really get the work done, then you would include the cost of the space rental here. If you are an organization or an individual and you are going someplace to do this, say that you're going to Penland, like I had mentioned, and you're going to drive down to North Carolina, you would include the estimated gas costs, any hotel stays in that here. And then other expenses, anything that you feel like it doesn't quite fit into these other three areas, you're going to place down here. And then everything will automatically populate into these three areas, right? And so you're seeing cash, in-kind, MCACA share, right? And so how does this shake down? So let's go with the individual one, because that's kind of the easiest to pop in, right? And so for another expense is going to be the tuition to go to Penland. That is going to be the MCACA's share. And so the class is going to cost that full $1,500, so I'm going to put that there. Up here, remember that is the travel. And so driving down to North Carolina, you're going to pay for that out of pocket using cash. And so that's going to be, I'm going to throw a random number in there, $100, right? And then even if you are an artist, you still need to pay yourself a wage. You still need to factor your time. And so whatever it is you may pay yourself weekly, factor that in. And so if you were to 1099 yourself so that you were appropriately paying taxes, then you would be in kind because you're just waiving your own wages for this. And so whatever, just be honest, whatever you would pay yourself for the week's work, right? And so you're going to put that there. So you can see at the bottom below here, the amounts have started to tabulate. And so the additional project expense, non-employee wages, other expense, they all fall under the cash, the in-kind, or the MCACA share as input above. If you're going to earn any revenue, if whatever you are proposing, whatever you are doing, say you're going to hold a workshop to marketing for a group of you and your fellow artist friends, but you're going to charge $20 a head, you would put this information here. If there's tuition or contracted services, whatever you're taking in, this is what you're earning from it, you're going to put there. Unearned corporate foundation or private support, input that information there. If there's private donations to help you take this on, if you have some beneficiaries that help you. Unearned government support, you're going to input here. Please be aware that there are certain guidelines of what constitutes as a match. You can't use other state funding to match this funding. You have to find that elsewhere. Other revenue, same type of thing. And then you can see at the bottom, the in-kind, the MCACA, everything populates down, total cash revenue. And so you're going to save that. And you can go back and edit this if you realized you made a boo-boo or that you found different funding or something's changed or costs change. You can edit this up until the point that you submit it. And so close. Now you can see that it's automatically populated into back into that SmartSimple page. And you can even open it as a PDF if you wanted to save that for your records. If you like to keep everything hard filed somewhere, you can print or save this to your own personal hard drive. But it is also located here. So again, once you feel confident, you're going to hit that Save Draft. And the next up is attachments. Now, attachments have 3 different sections. There's the narrative, there's the key staff, cultural worker, artist bios, and the supplemental material. In the narrative, you can submit up to 2 pages, and since they do suggest 2 pages, I strongly suggest you get as close to 2 full pages as you can using a font no smaller than 12 point with those 1-inch margins. There are some different breakdowns here. And if you look back onto the guidelines, believe I was on that page. Down here on page 9, you can see how the points shake down for which parts. And so you can see MiniGrants, pod, narrative, review, criteria, and scoring. They actually give you 2 points, 1 and 2, the professional development merit, the professional and organizational impact, and then sub-points underneath, so some specifics. These are really nice to use as a rubric. You could paste them right into your word processing program and then answer them out and then format it however you like. If you like to bullet point things, you can leave it as a bullet pointed document. If you want to make it as a more paragraphical type of narrative, then go with that. There's not really a right or wrong way. Every reviewer is going to have a different personal opinion, and there's no way of knowing. So do whatever you think best conveys your narrative. You'll save it as a PDF, and then you'll upload it here. The next one is your key staff, cultural worker, and artist bios. And again, in this guideline, they've broke down what that is. And so you're going to just provide the staff, project, artist bios as it relates to your application. And so if we go back to that example I've been using of going to Penland, if you already know who's going to be hosting that class or workshop you're taking, include their bio. If you're going to a specific organization, for instance, Penland, include their bio. And of course, include your own personal bio working as an individual or as an organization. If you are with an organization, you can include the bio for your organization as well as for yourself or any other individuals that are participating. If you have somebody coming to facilitate a workshop, include them. All of that goes here. And you can see there's not really a page limit. And so don't go overboard, but make sure that you're being thorough and including every key or important major person involved in this. Supplemental material, you can see the little explanation here, as well as here. And so this is anything that's appropriate or relevant and may include marketing materials, models being used for the work, evidence of past work and events, and so on, including header page numbers to each attachment. And so this is a nice spot that if you're using an outside program, school, what have you, a lot of them have PDF brochures and you can use those, or you can grab screen grabs from their website or download parts of their website as a PDF and then upload those. And so you're going to put all of that together and add it to the supplemental material. Whatever you think is going to best convey the importance and need for this grant money to complete this developmental workshop, class, what have you, you're going to put that there. And then, of course, as always, save draft. So make sure you're doing PDFs, not a Word, not a Pages, but PDFs. Make sure you're exporting them correctly. I'm pretty sure the system flags if you're not using a PDF. And then save your draft. Application PDF, these 3 tabs should populate into your PDF here. And all of the information will be here. And so you can, again, if you like to keep hard copies or if you want to keep a copy on your own hard drive, then you could download this and save it or leave it here. It's up to you. Internal is stuff that doesn't attach to your application, and the assurances, this is where that page that would be signed goes here, and you can view if it's been signed. And so you can see that for this example, my name's listed here, but there's no signature above. You can click online signature up at the top there. You can see that the DocuSign envelope was created and then it was sent to my email, but there's no signed or anything like that. And so then if it's you, go check your email, go check your junk, go see where it's hiding at. If it's your chair or CEO or executive director, maybe send them a reminder email that needs to be signed within 5 days, because you will not be able to submit until that's completed. And you'll get this warning up here to let you know. Hopefully this video helped clear some things up. Like I've stated, it is a review process, and so after the deadline for the specific fiscal year and round that you're applying in, all of the applications are sent to our panel. We use 5 reviewers and we rotate them so that we get some folks that understand the process mixed in with some fresh eyes to get fresh perspectives. The reviewers do leave comments on your application, thoughts and things. You'll be able to see your score and you can read those comments to kind of understand why the decision was made the way it was made. It's a great tool. The reviewers get to decide whether they're going to fully fund a application, partially fund an application, or not at all. And so if you end up having your application not awarded, I understand that stings a little bit. Don't dwell too long on it. Just check out the comments that our reviewers left. Know that because we do rotate reviewers, different batches are going to have different expectations. And so use what helps you improve your application and ignore the rest. If you have any questions, you can email me, srussell@theartcenter.org. Or if you're applying outside of Macomb or Oakland, go to the MCACA's page to find out who your contact is. And I hope this video helped clarify the process.